Tonight, the Bahamas gets the all clear from Hurricane Nicole. Officials on the ground conducting assessments. We are live. Also, an ex-Marine is murdered overnight. We've got the latest from investigators. And later, the fallout over FTX continues. Eyewitness News starts now. Eyewitness News is linked up by BTC. Whether it's chatting, gaming, content creating, or working smart to get things done, link up to stay connected with BTC. We begin with breaking news tonight. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas has frozen the assets of FTX Digital Markets and its related parties. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janae Noel. Thanks so much for joining us. In a statement released late this afternoon, Securities Commission Director Christina Roll said that in addition to freezing those assets, they've also suspended the registration and applied to the Supreme Court of the Bahamas for the appointment of a provisional liquidator of FTX Digital Markets. Attorney Brian Sims has since been appointed as liquidator, and the powers of directors of FTX have also been suspended. Now, the statement adds that no assets of FTX, client assets, or trust assets held by the company can be transferred, assigned, or otherwise dealt with without the liquidator's approval. Now, the commission adds that it was aware of the allegations of mishandling of assets to Aldima Research, and such action, the commission says, would have been contrary to normal governance. Moving forward, the commission says they will be working with that liquidator to stabilize the company. Now, for more on this story, you can log on to our website, ewnews.com. Well, hours before that statement by the commission was issued, those in the crypto industry closely watching the fast turn of events. Now, FTX was said to be a giant in the cryptocurrency industry with expansive global reach and major plans for the Bahamas, where it was expected to construct its headquarters through a $60 million investment.
Huge thank you to everyone for making this a place that we could call home.
Back in April of this year, the FTX CEO and founder Sam Bankman-Fried, along with government officials, broke ground for a $60 million headquarters on West Bay Street. It's a move that the now embattled CEO at the time said the Bahamas would be the envy of the world.
It is unambiguously the case that prior to this, we did not have a home as a company. We did not have a place that we felt comfortable and excited about, that we felt like could be a long-term place for a headquarters for us. So that's been incredibly valuable for us. We're incredibly grateful. And I can say as well that a number of other countries are incredibly jealous of what you guys have done.
But some 6 months later, Freud is facing bankruptcy and a number of international investigations, including the alleged mishandling of funds. This, coupled with a failed bailout from its rival Binance Group. Industry stakeholder Kevin Hobbs, CEO of Adventures Ventures, says the issues are concerning.
It's still really early from the reports that what we're seeing about the mishandling of funds. Obviously, it definitely is not a great situation at all, and hopefully FTX will do everything in its power to get users' funds back. But at this stage, it's kind of too early to tell what will happen. But so far, withdrawals are being made, and it seems like they're making best efforts to get everybody their funds.
Despite this, however, he highlights the need for better streamlining in the industry.
What this does is it allows for an opportunity to take a closer look behind the hood. FTX is still only very new here. It's only been, I believe, less than a year. And this is something that no one could predict.
But who's at fault? And did the Bahamas have a role to play?
Controlled out of the U.S., and it doesn't look like, from what we've seen so far, and things are still trying to unfold, that any of this really happened in the Bahamas here. So I don't think from a Bahamian standpoint that anything could have been done to prevent this, but moving forward, there are ways that the Commission and the government here can really work with experts in this space and projects in this space to kind of prevent something like this in the future.
Since the story broke earlier this week, many have questioned if the big dreams of FTX on a local level will ever materialize. During a town and planning meeting back in March, the group announced plans of promise and opportunity.
With this project, we'll create even more local jobs on top of the 40 we've already created, stimulate the economy, and construct a globally enviable campus that's comparable to your Apples or Googles. The Bahamas made a bold step, creating the most comprehensive digital asset regulatory regime in the world, and this is the next step in that vision.
And while the company may have been more than challenged to recoup or even find financing, Hobbs believes there is a silver lining.
I think that right now it kind of looks a little bit bleak, but the government here has been doing a lot of great things to bring world leaders in the crypto space here to the Bahamas. And this is just a chance for more education, more opportunity to bring more leaders here and work with the government on ways that we can get proper regulation to really create products that are going to work for every user and give Bahamians more access to opportunity in this space.
Well, as we said, for more on this story, you can log on to our website, ewnews.com. On to other news today. As the all clear was given for the Bahamas during the early morning hours, government officials were on the ground at first light to see how those islands fared. Our team coverage continues tonight with our Jose Etienne still in Abaco. Jose?
Yes, Janelle, we are here live in Abaco, where the acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper would have led a delegation of government officials here on the island to conduct an impact assessment of the island following the passage of Tropical Storm Nicole, which would have lasted for several hours up until it would have fully passed over on Wednesday evening. Now, according to Cooper, there seems to be insignificant impact and little to no damage, aside from the excessive flooding that would have occurred in some parts of Abaco. Now, following his assessment, Cooper says there are still some outstanding concerns that must be addressed moving forward.
We haven't been significantly hurt in terms of our infrastructure, but the message still is that since Dorian, there hasn't been enough investment in infrastructure, and we need to focus on really getting Abaco back to the pre-Dorian levels at a minimum.
Acting Prime Minister Cooper expressing what he says needs to be done on the Abaco Island to make it more resilient. Cooper led a delegation of government officials on the island to make impact assessment following the passage of Tropical Storm Nicole on Wednesday. Despite there being minimal impact from the storm, there are still a number of public infrastructure that has yet to be renovated following Hurricane Dorian.
So I think from the perspective of the port, Palsec, Pender, and Cornish have both pointed out the need to have this gateway restored so that there are facilities for employees to work from. There's a proper building for customs, and of course there can be some remediation work, some engineering. Really, when there's high tide or some surges, really to protect the platforms.
And as far as the Leonard Thompson Airport is concerned,
There was some rainfall, there was a bit of surge, therefore there was a small level of flooding, I believe about 12 inches at the peak of the flooding. This is to be expected. It receded very quickly. We continue to do repairs to the airport since Hurricane Dorian. We're pressing forward there. We're going to move the air traffic control tower to a different location. The professionals determined that it ought not be rebuilt where it is.
but according to Cooper, investments into these infrastructural plans are in the pipeline.
There is significant foreign direct investments looking at Abaco. Particularly in the south, there are some significant investments being proposed. The keys are back in terms of its touristic infrastructure. All of this will help to drive the public infrastructure and the investment in the public infrastructure. Sandy Point Airport, for example, there is a PPP proposed for Sandy Point. You know that we're doing PPPs on airports across the Bahamas. Marsh Harbor and Treasure Key will feature in those plans as well.
Cooper also revealing that the storm had little to no impact on tourism.
We know that many of the tourists did not leave. They made a calculation that this is just a tropical storm or Cat 1 and they stayed. God bless them. It's worked out well for them and for tourism.
He's also commending officials for ensuring that shelters were available for residents.
This church where we stand accommodated more than 200 people. We're grateful to Pastor Mills, the local community, local government. During times like these, we come together. That's what we do as Bahamians. We rally together, we support each other. We remember our assignment to be our brother's keeper, and I think that's how we are able to persevere.
So, Janea, Abaco would have received the all clear since 5 o'clock this morning, but there was a sense of normalcy coming back to the island since midday yesterday. And of course, it was around that time when the eye of the storm began to pass over. And since then, residents have been back on the roads, businesses have reopened, and power has been restored. Now, in speaking with some residents, they say that they would have experienced some trauma during the storm as a result of what they would have endured in 2019 with Hurricane Dorian. But at the end of the day, residents say they're happy that they've been spared from the worst of the tropical storm. Reporting live in Abaco, I'm Jose Atin, sending it back to you, Janelle.
Thanks so much, Jose, and excellent work in Abaco, you and RJ this week. Well, Eleuthera was listed alongside New Providence and Andros as islands that remained under hurricane watch as Hurricane Nicole made its way through the northern Bahamas. While Eleuthera only received the outer bands of that massive weather system, the island still reported property damage and coastal erosion. Our Theo Seeley was on the first flight out of the capital this morning with the Member of Parliament for North Eleuthera, Savannah Penny, as he conducted his initial assessments of damage to that island. Theo joining me live in studio with the latest. Theo?
Janea, the first order of business for Eleuthera post-Hurricane Nicole was getting the glass window bridge operational again. For those who may not know, that bridge is considered a lifeline for many on the island to be able to traverse between North, Central and South Eleuthera. But whenever inclement weather rears its head, the bridge must be shut down, and for businesses, that means everything comes to a standstill.
We would have closed the bridge on Tuesday morning, and now we are here after the all clear is given by NEMA to just conduct an assessment of the bridge and to determine whether or not it will be open this morning.
The raging Atlantic Ocean sits on one side of the glass window bridge, while the calm Caribbean Sea sits on the other. Now, during Nicole's passage, waves over 30 feet crossed the bridge from the Atlantic side, and this is what typically presents a safety hazard. It's actually swept away a number of residents and tourists before. North Eleuthera MP Sylvanus Petty, Island Administrator Stephen Wilson, local authorities and representatives from the Ministry of Works assessed the bridge post-storm on Thursday, and shortly after 8:30 a.m., the bridge was reopened.
But we're still asking residents and motorists to exercise extreme caution.
And literally 5 minutes after the bridge was reopened, a line of traffic that had been waiting to cross finally received the green light to do so.
It's essential that the bridge is open because right now We have the fuel level is very, very low in North Eleuthera.
A ferry ride over to Harbor Island revealing minor dock damage there.
We had lost a lot of planks. I was very impressed with persons from Harbor Island. They got together. They didn't wait on Mr. Wilson or myself. By, I guess, 10 o'clock this morning, we had them done.
Hurricane Nicole also blamed for some 3 to 5 feet of coastal erosion at the Pink Sands Beach on Harbor Island. Chief Counselor for the island's District Council, Terrence Davis, must now figure out how to address that.
Well, we'll have to make assessments of it and probably reach to our agencies that could best assist us or guide us on how we could maybe have that restored. But at this point, I guess we would have to be looking at natural restoration, but we would also look or get advice from the Department of Planning and Protection.
Pockets of Eleuthera remained without water today, a matter which Petty says he's addressing. Residents in Rainbow Bay still waiting for flood water to recede as well. Reporting live in studio, I'm Theo Seeley, sending it back to you live on the desk, Janea.
Thanks so much, Theo. Well, from Eleuthera, we go now to Grand Bahama, where that government delegation also made the trek to the nation's second city for an assessment. Our Devontae Hanna is standing by with more on this. Devontae? We seem to have some difficulty reaching Devontae at this hour, but back here in the capital, sea swells as a result of Nicole causing minimal damage to some coastal areas. Laurencia Smith has this update.
Outer bands of Hurricane Nicole brought heavy rainfalls, resulting in road closures throughout the capital, especially along the western coastline. Eyewitness News reported yesterday that there were huge waves and sea swells into the road, impossible for cars to pass. Today, the barricades erected in the impacted areas were down, and it was a free flow of traffic. Majority of the water had subsided. Henry Moxey, senior engineer within the Ministry of Works, revealed that the road design was a major factor in the reduction of the flood.
The road is actually sloped to go back towards the sea. Their sea defense system is sea walls that has slits in them, that when the water does come on in a king tide event, when the king tide subsides, the water is able to recede and run back into the sea.
Now, in multiple social media posts, there were reports of massive flooding on the island of Abaco. When Nicole arrived, it was a tropical storm. Moxey stated that he currently has a team on the island assessing the extent of the damages.
What our challenges are, and in a not so distant future, but in a very, very short while, we would actually be engaging contractors who would actually go out and actually do whatever remediation needed to be done to those drainage infrastructure on those islands.
Meanwhile, when Nicole impacted the second city, it was a Category 1 hurricane, dumping heavy rains and bringing winds. The Fishing Hole Road, which is historically known for flooding, saw inches of water. Moxey noted that the ministry is looking into several storm mitigation efforts to reduce flooding on that island.
Look at the Fishing Hole Road is a road that actually borders two wetlands. And what they've done that has been a marvel for the most part, they've actually elevated the roadway that allows more water to flow through that. Because if the water isn't allowed to flow, it would exert pressure on the roadway, and if it cannot, it will overtop. And so that's been one thing that has been done to bring a bit of relief to that area.
Moxey noted that climate change is a part of the challenge, but here's another challenge that is resulting in the massive flooding.
The bill in the physical environment and mitigate the impact of stormwater on our roadways and impact to the communities.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
I believe we do have connection now with Devontae, who is in Grand Bahama, where officials there conducted their assessment. Devontae, what's the latest from that island?
Good evening, Janea. The after effects of Hurricane Nicole still being felt right now at this hour. We are having some challenges with connection. But today, as you mentioned, the acting Prime Minister, Eyewitness Cooper, made his way down here with a delegation, including members from the cabinet, as well as other government officials, and as well as from other agencies. And they said that they are pleased with the way that Grand Bahama fared with this storm today. I can tell you that there was very minimal damage, including there was some little flooding in western area. But of course, teams were on the ground soaking up that water and ensuring that residents there were back to normal as soon as possible. There was some seaweed that came with that flooding, and of course, the Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge and the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, would have ensured that there was a team to clean up that seaweed so the roads were clear for residents to come back in. Of course, power is still out on the island. About 5% of customers, we are told by Grand Bahama Power Company, is still off, but majority of the island there has been power restored. But of course, in East and Grand Bahama, something that was celebrated by government officials today, the island administrator said that there were about 400 people that evacuated that island, that side of the island, I should mention. As you recall, back in Dorian, that island, that part of the island was greatly affected by the storm, and residents there are taking no chance getting out of that eastern area, and some going to the shelters to ensure their safety. But of course, the Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, as well as the Deputy Prime Minister, they, as I mentioned, they are just simply pleased, Janea. And going throughout the island today, there was minimal damage, and I can't stress that enough. Many residents were over-prepared, they said, but there was just trees down, branches down, and of course the minor flooding. But Janea, Chester Cooper, the Deputy Prime Minister, he made a plea to the residents that the government will continue to do all that they can to ensure that the economy of Grand Bahama is rebounded. Of course, that has been an area of concern for many residents, and that residents just feel safe, of course, as the Prime Minister continued to fight on our behalf, of course, in the country, in Egypt, for climate change. But Janea, for right now, we are still weathering the storm, as you can tell, even though things are pretty much calm right now. But on behalf of my cameraman, Ryan Farquharson, I'm Devontae Hanna, sending it back to you on the dash, Janelle.
Thanks so much, Devontae, and great work this week. Have a safe return home tomorrow. Well, from the crime beat tonight, an ex-Royal Bahamas Defense Force Marine who was out on bail for drug-related charges was murdered outside his Fox Hill home last night, pushing the homicide count to 117. The 53-year-old male was identified as Nathan Stubbs of the Cool Acres subdivision.
Sometime after 9 p.m., the police received information about gunshots being heard in this area. Upon the officers responding to this area, they met the lifeless body of a male who was lying just in front of an apartment building. He had what appeared to be gunshot injuries to the upper extremities. The EMS personnel were called. They examined his body and found no signs of life.
Well, as the murder count nears 120, that's last year's numbers, police were able to close 3 murder investigations thanks to the assistance from the public. They're again appealing to the public for help in this matter. The incident happening hours after the all clear was given following the passage of Tropical Storm Nicole here in New Providence. And Chief Superintendent Johnson expresses his concern about the state of crime in the country.
We are always concerned. One murder is too much. One murder is too much, and we are always concerned. And we, again, every week we meet and we come up with strategies and tweak our strategies in trying to deal with these matters. And we continue to ask the public to please be careful, be aware of their surroundings, and assist the police as much as possible.
Well, the Minister of State for the Public Service, Pia Glover-Rolls, sounding off on the pace of negotiations for public service salary increases. She spoke with Eyewitness News today, noting that the government has already finalized its offer to the Bahamas Public Services Union, which was reviewed by union executives during a meeting on Monday past.
And our labor relations unit have been having a lot of discussions. We're very concerned. I am very concerned that the holidays are approaching. We've negotiated in good faith. We're waiting to hear back from the PSU, of course, but the timeline is closing in on us if we are going to get our public servants their packages before the holidays. And I know many of them are anticipating it for the holidays. Many of them have said to me they anticipated it months ago. So, very concerned about us getting the progress of these negotiations going, because time is now not on our side. Even when we sign the agreement, it's going to take a process.
Well, we did make several attempts to speak with BPSU President Kimsley Ferguson. We were advised that he would respond at a later date. However, Glover Roll noted that this could impact some 22,000 plus public servants throughout the country. Here's what she says will happen if this matter is not addressed within the coming days.
If we don't get this concluded within the next matter of days, then it would be unfortunate that public servants will not be able to realize any financial benefits before the holidays. We really, really want to avoid that. We're very concerned about that. Public servants are calling, messaging, coming to see us every day. And, they want what's rightfully due to them. We've negotiated in our estimation, a great agreement, better than any historically. And we want to make sure that these persons who are going to benefit are able to benefit before the holiday.
And how many?
Well, as government officials continue their assessment of damages after the passage of Hurricane Nicole, the question on whether or not tax-free concessions will be extended yet again has arisen. Opposition members are calling for the extension while government officials have yet to make a decision. Tyler Simonet has more on this.
The Economic Recovery Zone order will be expiring next month, signaling the end of numerous tax breaks and concessions put in place to assist those in Abaco and Grand Bahama affected by Hurricane Dorian. Opposition member and East Grand Bahama MP Kwesi Thompson is renewing his call for the government to extend CERS as islands recover from Tropical Storm Nicole.
I think it is absolutely needed, and I think the passage of Hurricane Nicole just gives us even more reason why it ought to be extended. Persons throughout Grand Bahama and throughout Abaco most certainly have been set back in their recovery efforts. I know in my constituency we are seeing reports of home damage. We are seeing reports of property damage. So this is just a setback. And so there's no reason why the government should not be extending the CERS order.
Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper spoke to the CERS order just before the weekly cabinet meeting, explaining that the government will review the circumstances and decide whether CERS needs to be extended or not.
The Minister of Economic Affairs will speak to that. We are having a briefing today on Hurricane Nicole. We are going to see what happens. We are prepared. We have advised people in the impacted areas to exercise precautions. We're now focused on riding out the storm. We are praying for the best. All of our agencies are engaged and are on board. And when we come to the issue of recovery, we'll look at all of the tools available to the government, including extension of concessions, etc., if that is required.
Now, Minister of Economic Affairs previously went on record to say that the government was not minded to extend the order due to the possibility of people taking advantage of the blanket exemption. Thompson has this response.
The entire island is still in recovery. There are literally thousands of persons who are still in recovery mode, and that is homeowners as well as businesses. And so it is critical that you make the process as seamlessly as possible, that you do not put red tape in their steps, and to ensure that we get the most effective relief to them in the quickest possible time.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, if you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the Ion News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication on all of our social media platforms at eyewitnessnewsbahamas@gmail.com. And if you're watching on our Facebook or YouTube page, share your thoughts about today's stories in the comments section. We want to hear from you. Before we go to a break, the Ministry of Education officials advising that all schools will resume tomorrow that were closed due to Hurricane Nicole. We're just getting started in Eyewitness News, but when we come back, we put the government pothole hotline to the test. We've got that story coming up And later, an expensive loss to the country's tourism sector. Thanks to Hurricane Nicole. We've got more on that story right after this break.
We just got the new fiber internet speed bump. Now my internet so fast I can watch 2 4K movies, play video.
The news is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back. Here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker. Esso $6.07, Rubis $5.62, and Shell $5.97 rather. Well, last month we heard the complaints from the motoring public about the pothole-ridden streets of the capital. They expressed frustration that the poor conditions of the roads was costing them more of their hard-earned money. Now, we immediately heard from the Ministry of Works, who urged the public to forward those concerns to its pothole hotline. Well, our Leah Cooper decided to put that hotline to the test.
From flat tires to broken CV joints, we've all had our fair share of inconveniences caused by the many potholes on the roads of New Providence. And on October 20th, we decided to test how effective the Ministry of Works pothole hotline really was, as Director Eleuthera Smith insisted at the time that it was the most effective way to address potholes in the area. We reported 2 potholes to the hotline that day. The first was right in front of the National Library and Information Services on College Avenue and across from C.C. Sweeting High School. The report was sent via WhatsApp at 1:04 p.m. The ministry responded at 2:43 p.m., acknowledging the report and informing us that our request was forwarded to the ministry's civil design section. So how successful has the hotline been? We caught up with Assistant Civil Engineer at the Ministry of Works, Bahia Hepburn, who says the hotline has been in operation for a year and a half. And so far, workers have filled approximately 500 holes in New Providence thus far.
The pothole hotline, I think there has been some success. But what used to happen is that people used to call in, and it used to be kind of disorganized with regards to that, because it'd be hard for people to describe on the phone sometimes exactly where they're going. Since they did the WhatsApp hotline, is actually provided more locations for us to get there faster or organized faster. So even though there is going to be frustration with is that somebody reports it and it's not fixed the next day, unfortunately, we are trying to shorten our response time, because we do have a goal where we want potholes to be patched within a 5-day period and major ones to be patched within a 2-day period.
Well, 2 weeks later, we ventured back to both reported potholes, and we found that they were filled but not paved. That's way over the intended goal for patching. Hepburn also outlines the steps taken in the patching process. After receiving a report and location on the hotline, she says the location is then sent to a group of contractors responsible for patching. The workload is split based on which zone on the island they're assigned to.
They will go and they will get mix and material, asphalt mix from the plant, and they will go and they will prep the surface, and they will fill in the pothole, compact it at the end with hot mix asphalt, and then they report back to us to the project officer saying, we have completed these holes for the week.
Now, I'm standing across from one of the potholes that I reported 3 weeks ago to the Ministry of Works pothole hotline. As we can see, the hole has been filled, but it hasn't been paved as yet. Motorists continue to complain about the prevalence of potholes on the streets of New Providence. A local daily even reporting that the family of a traffic fatality victim blames a pothole for the death of their loved one. Add to that, many residents across the capital have expressed that they've been put in an unnecessary expense for repair to their vehicles due to the state of the roads, while some also report that their grievances often fall on deaf ears. Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.
Well, by the year 2035, all major car companies will solely produce electric vehicles. This much coming from Financial Secretary Simon Wilson, who says the country must now put in place strategies to accommodate that transition. Thus, a workshop was held today, hosted by the Ministry of Finance, to discuss how that goal can be achieved.
One of the thoughts that we are contemplating is providing direct incentive to businesses in terms of either a VAT rebate on the purchase of the vehicle or importation of the vehicle, or a rebate on business license to encourage them to make that transition to electric fleets. We do have some businesses which have adopted electric for vans and some smaller cargo transportation, but not so much for passenger vehicles. And so this is the next part of the evolution in terms of what we can do.
Well, Wilson adds that the government also intends to set up more charging stations to accommodate the growing demand for electric vehicles. He says these stations will likely be available at different rates of capacity.
Because we realize the fiscal impacts, if the fiscal impact as well as the balance payments impact, both of them are very, very strong in terms of why we should make this transition to electric. There's a strong fiscal reason, and we've seen it with our cars in our fleet in terms of low operating costs, in terms of lower maintenance costs as well as operating costs.
Well, Hurricane Nicole also putting a dent in the cruise industry this week, as the Nassau Cruise Port Director revealed that ports missed out on thousands of passengers due to inclement weather. The ships that did not call on Nassau include the Anthem of the Sea, the Carnival Liberty, the Enchantment of the Sea, the Disney Wish, and the Liberty of the Seas, as well as the Independence of the Seas cruise liners.
The storm was approaching Nassau. For this week, and our weeks run Friday to Thursday, notwithstanding the impact of the storm, we still would have had 19 ships this week. As Larry went through this, some ships had canceled completely, but then they have now they're scheduled, two of the vessels of Independence of the Seas and Carnival Sunshine are scheduled to call now on Thursdays, that we were able to recover some of the passengers that we have thought we had lost for this week, which is good news. But yeah, Tropical Storm Nicole has at this moment, it appears that we would have lost 19,000 passengers as a result of Tropical Storm Nicole.
All is not lost, he says. He reveals that they didn't lose as many port calls as originally planned, and some vessels rescheduled their port days.
Given that the storm has passed New Providence, is that we have a surprise call actually come in. So the port department, notwithstanding that as of 7 a.m. they had closed the port, given that the storm had passed New Providence as quickly as it did, and given that the weather, as we can all see, had settled down, relatively settled down compared to what it was this morning. Anticipated having 118 calls in November, and again, based off what we're looking at here, we'll end up at the moment we'll end up with 113 calls.
So to come in Eyewitness News tonight, we discuss coping with trauma following a storm. We've got that story. But first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. Well, if you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or nervous every time you hear the word hurricane or major storm, some local psychologists say the trauma is real and should not be ignored. Eleuthera Smith has more on this.
Experts have noted that natural disasters have the potential to produce a high level of stress and anxiety and anger to those impacted. Grand Bahamians and Abaconians are no strangers to traumatic impacts of natural disasters following Hurricane Dorian and now Nicole. Clinical psychologist Dr. Wendy Fernandez says that the reality is storm causes stress and there's no way around it.
Disasters can be a form of trauma, especially for those who may have lost their homes, businesses, community, loved ones, and or sense of safety.
Notwithstanding Nicole only being a Category 1 storm, Dr. Fernandez said that some residents may have flashbacks from previous storms. She shared the telltale signs as it relates to trauma.
Severe emotional distress and or physical reaction to things that trigger the memory of the event. Heart racing, breathing, and sweat.
Trauma can lead to self-destructing behavior, which include drinking, substance abuse, insomnia, and risky sexual behavior. So how can you cope with trauma?
We started very early. PHA, Bahama Psychological Association, Ministry of Health. We started early in April and May talking about psychological preparedness for hurricane.
So
remember, the brain cannot do two things at once. You find that the symptoms continue and it's distressing, get professional help.
Now, Dr. Fernanda also noted that the Bahamas Psychological Association have activated their mental health hotline to assist those who may be experiencing trauma.
Manned by qualified mental health professionals.
Laurentia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Also to come, our Randy Smith has the latest from sports. Good evening, Randy.
Janaea, Tiger Woods announcing return to competition next month at the Hero Golf Challenge. Also, Team Bahamas preparing to take on competition at home at the Kendall Isaac Gymnasium tomorrow. Hear more about both coming up in Eyewitness Sports.
We all know how good food makes
This segment of the news is brought to you by Hennessy, the spirit of sports in the Bahamas.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to Eyewitness Sports. Leading off tonight, Tiger Woods made it official yesterday by announcing he would return to competition as part of the 20-man field at the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. Woods is the tournament host of the unofficial event set for December 1st to 4th at the Albany Golf Club, where the tournament has been played since 2015. It will be the first time Woods has played the Hero World Challenge, which benefits his foundation since 2019. On the basketball front, the roster that will make up Team Bahamas for the upcoming window for the FIBA America qualifiers was released by the Bahamas Basketball Federation today. Team Bahamas will play the next 2 games here at home at Kendall Isaacs tomorrow. The Bahamas takes on Panama beginning at 8 p.m., then back again on Saturday against Argentina. Tip-off is set for 7:15 p.m. And locally, plans continue to progress ahead of the Don't Blink Home Run Derby. The 3-day event returns for a 4th year next month, and organizers expect this one to be the best yet.
For us, our baseball dream started at a very young age at Freedom Farm Baseball League under Coach Greg Burrow Sr. His visions, his plans, and what he envisioned for baseball to do for us is transpiring right now today. Through those experiences, we gained exposure of what baseball has to offer around the world. And these experiences led us to the creation of this event 5 years ago. And 5 years of anything in life is a blessing. So, for us, we're truly honored, truly humble, and truly blessed that God just gave us this vision, this opportunity to bring this into fruition, for not just for us baseball players, but for the Bahamas in its entirety. And what makes this so special is today, under the current administration, Sports in Paradise is one of their main mandates, and it aligns so perfectly with our mission. And our mission is to inspire the youth, give the youth opportunities to let sports be a platform to lead them to the four corners of the world.
This is our favorite time of the year, truly. Don't Blink Week. We're here again, and we're super grateful that we get to put this show on for our people, our Bahamian people. This year, Don't Blink Week will be between December 13th and December 18th, with players' arrivals being Tuesday, December 13th. But we'll kick off festivities Wednesday, December 14th with our celebrity softball game. Last year was our first year having this event. It was a true success. We had a lot of fun. Local celebrities showed up and they showed out. So we look forward to stepping back on the field with them again this year. Gates will open at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. sharp will be game time. So please come out. You don't want to miss it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of laughs, and it's a lot of good times.
Well, that does it for us in sports, but stay tuned. Eyewitness News continues in a moment. I'm Randy Smith. Have a great evening.
For watching Eyewitness News.
Link up with BTC and call it one and done. Link up with BTC and call it one and done.
Let me just say, welcome home, Samir.
It's a pretty big night for us here at BTC as Prime Minister Philip Davis and his wife, along with members of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government, joined our parent company, CWC, our BTC board members, as well as senior members from BTC and tons of other dignitaries for the official welcome corporate reception for our newly minted CEO, Samir Bhatti.
Yeah, well, I'm here to welcome him to the Bahamas, back home, really. And I'm very pleased to know that we have a Bahamian at the helm and who understands and sensitive to our culture and our needs. And I'm very heartened by the fact that BDC has expressed so much confidence in the Bahamas through their investments. I noticed that they're expanding the employee base, and so I'm very pleased about that. I just want to say to BTC, keep on keeping on. And we have to be careful, not careful, because efficiency, effectiveness in growing this economy is dependent upon the manner in which we communicate. And so BTC and our communications network is necessary to continue on our path of growth.
We've gotten all the formalities out the way, and it is a party after all, so now it's time to hit the dance floor. These are still the moments that move us. I'm Corval Pyfrom. Be well and be back here next. BTC Connection.
Link up with BTC and call it one and done. Link up with BTC and call it one and done.
Well, that wraps up news this Thursday. Again, great job to the team for the hard work they put in this week. Coming up and Beyond the Headlines with Shanique Miller. More on the FTX fallout. That's coming up and Beyond the Headlines. It starts right after this. That does it for us here at Eyewitness News. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Janae Nawal saying good night and be safe, everyone.
Views and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Alive, still connected, still with you.
FTX tanks, causing many Bahamians to wonder about their investments. And if crypto is a scam, they can ill afford to lose. We'll talk to an expert tonight. Also, the country is breathing a sigh of relief after Tropical Storm Nicole dumps a fair share of rain, but no major damage. And it's Thanksgiving in about 2 weeks. A local organization is looking to provide 1,000 hot meals for needy families. Find out how you can help that effort this evening. We speak with the head of the organization. It's all coming up for you tonight on Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. Welcome to the show. And Beyond the Headlines, brought to you by Alive, your cell service provider, accountable, reliable, trustworthy. It was promised as the bright light for the Bahamas, a major digital assets company, FTX, putting the Bahamas in an enviable position and promising major opportunities and major infrastructure. Then the unthinkable happened. The billion-dollar company and grandiose plans fell apart. What happened? What's next? Why? Well, we're going to get into it this evening. Kevin Hobbs is a businessman and an expert in the crypto space, and I'm very happy to welcome you to Beyond the Headlines. Good evening to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shanique. Happy to be here.
Thank you very, very much. And so let's just jump right in. While you are not an FTX insider or even connected to the company, you're certainly well-versed in the industry and an industry player as well to be able to provide insight. And so why or how could this happen to a company that seemingly, to all of us, was financially secure and its foundation firmly in place?
It's a great question, and I mean we've seen this in the crypto space now often too many times with a lot of these centralized entities like exchanges and some of the other ones like Voyager and BlockFi. And how this happens is really where they kind of try to go beyond the financial instruments that they have to create a more attractive offering than what's really able to happen in the crypto space that's so new and nascent at this point in time. So their hedging mechanisms aren't as mature as what they should be for what they're really trying to do.
Well, and that is where people are skeptical. I tell you, if you know but Bahamians, you gotta tell it to us 1,000,000 times for us to begin to say, maybe this actually does make sense. And so the fact that this is going on, this hedging and all of this stuff, and I guess overselling and the rest of it, where does this leave cryptocurrencies and the future of cryptocurrencies? And I know I'm pulling everything into the one big bag, but there are so many questions.
There is. A lot of people look at crypto as just a financial digital token that they can hopefully make big gains on without really understanding the infrastructure that's underpinning it. And that causes a lot of problems in understanding. And where we really have to go is educating people on what this technology is, what you can do with it, and where the opportunities are. And with a lot of the exchanges, people just see trading, and unfortunately, they don't own their own assets. In the crypto space, we've had a saying for a long time, and that's if you don't control your keys, you don't control your crypto. And so anytime you're giving your crypto to a centralized entity, you're now out of control, and you don't really get to see what's happening behind the scenes. And that's kind of what's happened time and time again with these entities.
How do you move forward? How do you, if you don't put it into an entity, are you then, as you are saying, to be held responsible for your own crypto, go in there, learn the industry and trade on your own?
Well, in some respects, yes. I mean, that's one of the great things about blockchain technology, Web3 technologies, and decentralization technologies is you're now able to kind of own your own assets, own your own IP, and control how it gets used. So, for example, if if an exchange was still offering these same products and services in a decentralized Web3 manner, then none of the users would be affected this way. They could take their assets out and hold them on their own and not be subject to what's happening now where you can't get withdrawals from the exchange.
So don't talk about withdrawals from the exchange. How is it? I was speaking with someone and they were saying the way crypto operates and what makes them skeptical is that you can't, if I have $150 million in crypto coins and so that reflects that Shanique has $150 million, I don't have immediate access to that.
Not if it's on a centralized entity like an exchange, because that's actually, you're not actually trading crypto on the exchange. They use a proxy. They take your real cryptocurrency and they hold it in external wallets and they allow you to trade on the exchange with you're not actually trading real crypto. So unless you're actually in control of it, you're never trading real crypto. It's really like trading, internet magic money on the exchange. It's not real on the exchange. Not until we go to true DeFi and true decentralization with Web3 applications can we really have proper transparency and governance.
Okay, so I've spoken with a few people who are really following this FTX issue and matter and the way it's just crumbled really. And so I'll get to some of those questions right there at this point. Is crypto dead or centralized exchange is dead, and what is the difference?
Okay, I've been in this space going on 10 years, and every couple of years you hear, is crypto dead, is crypto dead? No, crypto is not dead. As this looks really kind of bleak right now, this is actually a blessing in disguise. We're actually getting to a place of capitulation where we've seen kind of a lot of the big institutions kind of fall that needed to fall, who were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, right? Kind of like back in the financial crisis when, Bear Stearns failed and the Lehman Brothers failed, and then we kind of moved up from there. So we're at that point with crypto now. And I think that this is going to breed a lot of new great technologies that's going to move us forward, that's going to give us that transparency and that safety and security that we're looking for.
So unfortunately, it's like these things sort of have to happen to clean out the space so that the real opportunities and legitimate opportunities present themselves in the crypto space, and people can really go on to make a great living, to obviously amass wealth at whatever level it is, etc.
Correct. Yeah, we need this to happen so that we can kind of see, where the mistakes are, where the bugs are, and kind of how to fix them, and hopefully be able to give better access to opportunities to people who would never really have it in the financial sphere.
Well, that is the hope that everybody really is this hedging and betting on, right? That they can actually have this access to wealth, that they can become a whomever it is and be able to move forward, with a good quality of life, etc. Here's another question that came in. Was CZ, and I was told Shanique, he would know all about this. He would know this. So here's the question. Was CZ or Binance the whistleblower, or was he really clueless before he got the call from FTX?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, the two of them have kind of had an ongoing feud for a little bit for a while now, and they went at each other. And what it seems to be is CZ was just a better chess player than Sam was with this, unfortunately. The bad thing is they were playing a game with other people's assets.
And that's the thing.
And that's not right. And they shouldn't have never been doing that. Like FTX should have never been doing that, and hopefully they'll make every attempt to kind of make it right and not hurt the users that they have. But the game that he's played is just one that shouldn't be played. We're all here in this industry, especially in this new time, to make it grow. And when you lose people's trust in this space, it is very hard to get it back.
Exactly, and you said it so correctly. In this time, a time of inflation, talks of recession, people being underemployed, trying to gain employment once again, and wherever they find themselves in that space because of the pandemic, and just everybody's trying to rebuild, and here this happens. Mm-hmm. And so investor confidence is really, really low. And speaking of investor confidence, so obviously it's been shot right now. What other cryptocurrencies have been affected and impacted as a result of this big fallout with FTX?
Well, the entire industry has been affected. Almost every single cryptocurrency is gone down because of this. This is a big blow, especially after the other ones like Celsius and Voyager and Block falling. It really kind of hurts the space. It does take investor confidence out of the space and kind of sit back and wait for a while. When is this going to settle in? And so, as bad as it is right now, what it will do is it will breed better technologies, and it will breed a way that we can move forward from this.
And total losses as a result of this FTX debacle, what dollar amount would you put on that?
I mean, it's hard to say right now. I mean, the crypto market is very kind of volatile, and so it'll move up and down in a whole market context, billions of dollars, like in a day, maybe tens of billions of dollars and more in a day, based on something like this. I think it's still too early to say where it's all going to shake out, but I do think that we'll see some capitulation and some foundation kind of building over the next little while.
We're talking about now scrutiny, and maybe this doesn't come before you, but I'm still going to ask you, because I know you watch the space and you were here, and you probably had to go through your own set of scrutiny. And so will this now involve greater scrutiny for companies coming in, especially in this industry, in this relatively new industry and space, in the crypto space? And what regulations do you think, especially the government, needs to or will be forced to put in place moving forward?
So, I mean, regulation is good for this space, but proper regulation that we can all move forward with, that's not going to stifle innovation. The government here has actually done a really good job with the DARE Act and being very open to lines of communications, to talk with projects, to kind of see what's the best way that we can move forward that protects the people getting involved, but doesn't slow down this industry that's just rapidly growing. And by what they've been doing, they've been able to attract top tier projects from all over the world here to the Bahamas. And potentially, this even though this seems like a little bit of a backstep, this is an opportunity to go in and say, hey, how can we really shed some light on this so that we can give clear guidance to other exchanges, companies, corporations that are going to come here in the crypto space, so that we can all move forward together.
Before we wrap the interview, tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you're sort of in this space as well. Let us know about what it is that you do, because perhaps we would want to shift. You know what I mean? After all this has happened, you've heard success stories. So obviously, it's not all bad, but it certainly maybe needs greater policing or a combination of a lot of things. And so tell us a bit about what you do.
Perfect. So at Aventus, we're a venture studio. So we incubate blockchain and financial technologies in-house. So we build these companies from the ground up. And I've been doing that for close to 10 years now, worked with over 50 companies in the crypto space since then, helping them kind of guide and scale along the way. One of our products that's coming out, that's a Bahamian company, is called Squirrel Technologies, and it is fully Web3 decentralized, which will be able to do some of the products and financial instruments in a very transparent, safe, secure way, where we're building with the user in mind first, so they control their access, they control their IP, they control all of their assets and funds, and can do what they want with them in a place where they get guided, they have education, which is super important in this, so people understand what they're getting into before they get into it.
Sounds amazing. Of course, for those of us who are still novices in the crypto space, certainly looking forward to learning more, knowing more, and talking to you again, because you are here in the Bahamas, in this space, creating something that obviously continues to be growing and expanding and shifting and moving, and so really looking forward to catching up again.
Yeah, anytime. Happy to be here. This is great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Kevin Hobbs, of course, a businessman, an expert in this industry. Of course, you heard his resume, worked with over 50 companies and brought them success, and now he's brought that opportunity here. We will be watching out for you, Kevin, and seeing exactly where you go with that. But again, it's good to have you here, and thank you for speaking with us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, the Hot Topics panel is here. They weigh in on that. They talk about the storm that just happened, and also a little bit later, he's hoping to feed 1,000 needy families for Thanksgiving. Will you help make that happen? Beyond the Headlines is back right after this break.
What if I told you that
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. We're going to continue where we left off at the first segment, but this time the Hot Topics panel is here and they're going to weigh in on this FTX issue. It really is something that continues to rock the world. There are some Bahamians who have invested in terms of accessing coins and making that investment. They're hugely disappointed and wondering what's next. And then, of course, there are others who are super excited about the plans that FTX laid out for the country, which includes a new hospital, a major center for business on the western end of the island. In fact, the property has been cleared already, and so many other properties and investments and commerce centers in the western area of New Providence, all including in Albany, I'm being told. I shouldn't have called that name, but yes, as far west as that. But just again, great promise for the country, for employment, for investment, for further growth, for the economy, all of it. And here it is that now that the company is basically flopped. And so we're going to jump right in now with the Hot Topics panel. I am happy to see and welcome the Beyond the Headlines contributors, Cassia Stewart, Peggy Scott. Good evening to both of you, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Shanique.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
Wonderful, thank you.
You ready for FTX? Eh?
I can't wait. I'm learning.
All right, good. So
I know, right? Yeah, no. We all kind of novices. We had the expert here in the first segment, and he shared great light, really, about the industry. But let's just bring this down to the Bahamian level and talk with FTX. You all, truly, as I asked him, Kevin Hobbs, and I said to him, listen, here was truly, none of us could ever envision it. A company that seemed really financially secure, its foundation firm, and the plans it had for this country and the opportunities that it was already offering Bahamians, and even stepping up as a responsible corporate citizen in the country, really to hear that it almost was built on air. It's quite shocking, really, Cassius.
Well, not necessarily built on air. I think what they were experiencing is mismanagement. Peggy would call it thieving, but it's mismanagement. And what they were doing is what governments do, particularly countries do all the time. They print money to be able to deal with bills to pay off this and so on. So what they were doing was creating their more tokens. Not using their actual assets, but creating tokens to be able to invest here and invest there.
So you're meaning, like, remember when in 2008 there was this housing bubble that caused a recession because it just burst?
Spending what you don't have.
Yeah. So you're saying that is what that what that is?
Similar to that. They were spending what they did not have, and because you then created extra tokens, when they try to cash in on those tokens, then there's no value. And so they find themselves in a situation where the people, nothing could have sustained that. So just like when you printing money right now, back in the 50s and the 60s, the US dollar was backed by gold.
Yes.
Those dollars are now not backed by anything, it's just backed by a promise. And so when you could print money right now, someone said that 40% of all the money printed in the last 100 years is printed in the last 2 years. So you printing money to prop up the economy, to prop up these things, but when you try to cash in on those things, there's no value. And so they find themselves in a situation where those extra coins that they printed had no value. It's not a scam per se, because you have the blockchain industry, you have the cryptocurrency, you have Ethereum, you have Bitcoins, and all these were having their different turbulence. But what happened was you had management spending more than they really had. And so you have investments in Miami, in the Miami arena, that the Florida legislation, that they are now going after them because they want to figure out now, you got to pay for this, and so on. And so, I'm not sure how they materialize in the Bahamas, if actual cash or currencies was exchanged for land and so on. But I suspect, though, they had the money, but, they went overboard and spent more than they had, which caused the whole house to fall down.
Peggy, you want to jump in?
Yes, Shanique. Well, this is all new to me, and the last 24 hours I've been reading and catching up.
We call that cramming.
We all have done it. Yes, but I'm going to lean on what I do know. I do know risk management. I do know compliance. And so when I look at it, and one of the things that is being said by the international regulators is due diligence. Even the gentleman who wanted to buy FTX said they had to do more due diligence. And it's obvious that, and our Security Commission is now being scrutinized and criticized
that is
for
something.
lack of due diligence.
And yeah, let's take the conversation there, Peggy, and you can lead off. Do you think, because you have to question this, yes, there was this wealthy gentleman bringing incredible opportunities here to the country, but then when you look at it, and it's only been about, I don't know how many, this company was established during COVID. And so it's a new company with an amazing promise for the country, right? So was due diligence carried out, do you think? And of course, we're all just speculating here.
So I'm speculating. Do we have in this country experts like the gentleman who was sitting there inside of our Security Commission who is qualified to monitor the activities of a FTX? Because this currency is all new brand to Bahamians. And so do we have experts in this field? Do we have experts in the Security Commission who are qualified to say, you know, this is a shady deal, or we just saw some trade happening that we should have them to send in an explanation? Do we have that qualified? And this is one of the things that is being criticized from the international bodies. I read a book before, say How to Smell a Rat. And so when I looked at the big event that took place in Bahama, it didn't keep my interest because
You're referring to the major conference they had earlier this year.
Yes, in the introduction. And when I saw the players, when I saw the star powers, when I saw the ex-prime minister.
And listen to me, weren't they some superstars in the room?
Yes, they were. But if you're selling a product, the only way you need to convince somebody you need superstar faces and power is it makes me suspicious. It makes me question why they need this superpower. And it also made me realize that it was out of a certain range. It was appealing to a certain
income bracket of people.
Yes. And so all of that, I'm like, when something appears to be too good to be true, normally it is. And then when I did my research last night and I saw the gifts being given out, it's like you buy in favor. I saw the singing prophet, hallelujah, thank you, God.
You got to buy favor in small countries, man, if you
want
to get them moving along.
Yeah, but I'm saying it is for me. Well, as a risk manager,
you are well versed in matters of finance as a risk manager, a compliance officer, and all the rest of it, right? But just me, the reporter, the host, right? The news reporter. I said, wow. Well, how awesome that FTX is, for example, lending a helping hand to, say, a feeding program and doing that kind of thing.
Immediately.
Go on, Peggy.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I'm saying for my eyes, I begin to question, what is this about? It came on with such beauty and bling blings and star power, and what is this about? And when you research, why were they the interest in the Bahamas? Now, when I saw the question online, because FTX were trading in different, help me with the word.
Currencies?
Cryptocurrencies,
but facilities that were illegal in America. If I was doing due diligence and I found that out, that's a red flag. Why would they send from where they were?
Let me help you out. There are different regulations. When you have different exchanges, like they have some currencies that are traded in Europe that are not traded in the U.S. and so on. So I don't think you could say that they were, paint a picture they were doing something wrong. They weren't doing anything wrong. It's just that their management skills, their spending was more than they had.
So Cassius, you are laying all this big kerfuffle and this major disappointment that so many. Listen, I don't know if you guys see.
It's at the management.
You're laying it at the feet of mismanagement.
Yes, because you've seen it time and time again. Remember when we had the housing bubble, when we had the insurance companies that flopped. What the insurance company did was they were taking a lot of the money and excess money and they were invested in the housing projects all over the world. And then what happened is that when the U.S. market crashed, nobody buying the home, so all the money they invested gone to waste. Basically similar processes. And so whether we come with regulations, see the thing about regulations when you come into crypto space and cryptocurrency is that you have a direct fight between the existing banking sector and the crypto space. When you're sending money through Bitcoins, I could send money from you, Shanique Street to Cassius, without an intermediary. In the traditional space, the intermediary got to get a share. So the cryptocurrency circumvent that. And so right now you have a war between the existing banking sector and this new crypto digital space.
So then let's examine that then. Is it that the traditional institutions are behind somehow trying to destroy the crypto space?
They don't want it because, of course, you're taking my bread and butter. Because when you have what they call them, the SWIFT, right? When I send monies away to India, China, you have to have an intermediary bank. That bank gets his share, and then he sends it on. This is a $1 trillion industry. So now you have this new technology coming out that circumvents the entire space. And so this is why they've been having a lot of issues with the federal government. This is why they're having issues with regulation, because they don't want to be regulated. And do they regulate them? Because they circumvent these central banks. And when you circumvent the central banks...
I'll tell you this, if you know about the central banks and the experience and the way they operate, especially the ones here, I don't know if we have a different set of rules, but I could agree with Kevin in this then, that what that would do with this whole crypto space is sort of positioned to do is empower more people and bring more wealth to people.
Shanique, okay, I'm going to use Cassie's example. I give you $1,000 and you give me coins representing my $1,000. And you're supposed to secure my $1,000. I spend these coins and I come back, but you take my $1,000 and you give a gift to Singing Prophet. And I come back to you for my $1,000, and what you do, you create more coins. I'm just a little black Eleuthera girl, and this is my understanding, and I'm trying to learn.
We both are.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to learn. We use, Cassius and other persons will use embezzlement, mismanagement. This little Eleuthera black girl call it thieving. You take my money, and you gave it to somebody, and you gave me coins and a promise.
Now. I take my money and I buy stocks in a particular company. They take that money that I give them for their stocks. They said, okay, I have 10 shares in this business. They take their money and spend it however they feel like it. But if the stocks now, if I can't trade it back, sometimes you pay $100 for stock. Next thing you know, the stock only worth 5 cents because, of course, mismanagement on the part of the management system. But you see, you cannot say that they were stealing per se. It's because you have to lay it to the fact that this is not new, because we do it in stocks, we do it in trading all the time. Because if I now take $1,000...
Stealing is not new. I agree.
No. I mean, but think about
Regardless
it,
of how it
right?
shows up.
If somebody's investing in your Eleuthera business, right? This Eleuthera business you got, and they give you $1,000 and you give them 10% shares. You take that money and you spend that money on yourself, or you put some money back into the company. When it's time to cash that money back in, you ain't got no liquid cash because you already spent the money. You see? And so that is what they find.
That's where the poor management comes in.
But also too, you have sometimes in business, people reinvest money to make more money.
Yes.
But in the poor management comes that we spend the money that we're supposed to reinvest to make more money.
So then, Peggy and Cassius, let's look at this then. This was, again, as I said at the beginning of this segment, an incredible opportunity for the Bahamas.
Yes.
Not just those who participate in crypto and would benefit in that regard. I'm talking about the fact that new hospital...
we needed a new hospital, man.
Exactly. Commerce centers. What happens now? Listen, at a time we could ill afford to lose another tree, major properties cleared down because this incredible FTX headquarters is being built and was set up to be built, right? You could see the big space, one of them on West Bay Street, just further west. Now, what happens to all of those?
No money, no projects.
They go all to north.
The trees grow back.
But I think though if the government still needs a hospital, then they could create their own investment vehicle, allow Bahamians to invest and so on, so that we could come up with the $250 million, put some stocks out there, put some shares out there. But the hospital has to be a money-making machine. It can't be a free-for-all like how we have Princess Margaret Hospital now. But we do need a new hospital, but we have to create an investment vehicle to be able to generate the resources so that we can build this new hospital. Don't allow, because cryptocurrency went that way, that we forget the idea. No, we can still create the idea. We'll do the very same thing that they're doing, because now if I put my $10,000 in, I need to know that in 10 years, my $10,000 is $20,000, because now the new hospital that we've created is now generating revenue.
But the government has a vehicle to raise money. It's government registered stocks. This is guaranteed. It doesn't matter who's the administrator. It is offered by the Central Bank of Bahamas monthly. Many Bahamians participate in this, and whenever the government wants to raise revenue, they offer stocks. So that facility is in place. But one of the biggest things that I don't want to be overlooked is, and risk management, there is something called reputational risk. And that is my concern when it comes to this,
Peggy, because what
to our
does
country.
this do to the reputation of the Bahamas in terms of its oversight for this kind of business or even any other financial business? We've seen, and I don't know if it's related, but we've seen the international finance agencies come down on the Bahamas.
Shanique, I don't know if we can get beaten that badly because I think it's a new space, and I think we are now conforming our laws to be able to accommodate it. I think it's a learning opportunity for us moving forward that these are some of the things that we expect. But I don't think though internationally we'll get beaten because we overlook. I don't think so.
Because it's already being discussed in the different forums when it comes to regulation.
But we weren't responsible for his mistakes.
No, we weren't. But we took on
exactly.
We took on
we
them.
We approved this company to be in the Bahamas, and so then they're wondering now what's the regulations of the Bahamas.
This company also operates in Florida, operates around the world.
But we're talking about
they don't operate in the Bahamas in isolation.
No,
so don't make it look like we can get beaten by a friend.
The Bahamas is beaten many times with things the United States is not beaten with.
But they need me to defend them.
Yeah,
the Bahamas
when we talk about the different dark color lists that we put on, this is one of the reasons we put on all of these lists. Dark and black and gray. It's because of our monitoring.
Peggy, I don't think so. I don't think so. And not in this regard.
No, I think it would. I think, and it's early, but I think if you're looking at KYC, did they do it properly? Did they check out why this person came here? Did they ask those questions? Did they get that information?
Those are European regulations. They're all European regulations. KYC and all those European regulations that they jammed on our throat.
No, they ain't jamming. It is to protect the investor.
I mean,
this is the.
Peggy,
come on,
Peggy. That's what they tell you.
This is what. Yeah,
that's what they tell you.
Peggy, we can be here all night arguing about this.
It's delicious.
I'll tell you this. It's quite delicious. Yes, everyone. There are so many hundreds and hundreds, perhaps thousands and thousands of Bahamians. Forget the international community. Bahamians are following this. They're upset. They're disappointed. They're wondering what's next. They also have questions about the crypto space. I'm happy that Kevin was here to say, listen, it's still alive and healthy. You just now have to be more discerning yourself.
But that's where monitoring comes in.
We had so many different scams. We had the gold. The people come on here selling gold, right? And so I tell my wife, don't fool with that. She gonna forward that now. You can't get my money back from the gold.
Yeah,
right?
but this
so all that gold we buy, we waste the money, right?
Yes, how much gold does she purchase?
I can't tell you, right? I can tell you. And then somebody else.
But I'll tell you this, Cassie, gold is no scam. If you own gold.
Listen, if you see the little
whatever that situation they had there about buying gold, that was a total scam. Because all my money gone, right? Then they had the next one come and say, oh, the travel agency, you can get free travel. I said, no, I ain't fooling with that one. Then somebody nag me for another one. I said, listen, I don't bother with these things. Only because it's you, I can put up a couple $.
And what happened?
1 week later, the whole thing crashed. 1 week later, all my money gone. So don't ever come to me ever again, but no scam. I ain't into that.
No,
can I sell you on some health and wellness?
No, I ain't
But that is why being monitored is important. And even your expert, he did not appear excited about it because they want to be able to move freely in creating their market. But in the same turn, investors, people who are not very well versed in what they're doing but want to try, these individuals, funds and their investment need to be protected. And then when it comes to the country reputational risk, you don't want it to look like we're open for scams. And so you want to protect for future investors. And so even your guest said that, it would put people to make people a little iffy for a while until it builds up confidence again. But confidence has been shaken. This company is registered in the Bahamas. This company was celebrated by our government. This country had one of the most shiniest star power coming out.
Conference, yeah.
And it attract, I'm sure all of those faces attract more people.
The three most popular letters in the country for a good minute were TX, I tell you. So
it's sad that they
because
went
there's
through
nothing
this
to celebrate all over, you know. But
really, they were going to change the whole dynamics of allowing money to flow through the Bahamas.
They were.
It
And
was,
that's what
you
made
know,
them
it should have been
attractive.
opened up, you know, from the beginning also for Bahamians to be a part of it.
And Peggy was right, because at one point it appeared as though, well, why bother? Because if those are who are part of this, we certainly can't afford it.
Invest anything in anything.
Listen, Cassius, you cannot be a total skeptic.
Listen, total.
In any
event.
event.
And what I do, and I ain't interested. Don't come to me because I ain't interested. I don't lose too much. You know,
Cassius,
try and this and
still
try
get
that.
your gold dust though.
I sent that little you know, they send this little package from FedEx with you get X amount of gold and so on. I say, man, listen. I said to myself, hold on, we buy X amount of.
If it ain't a bar, and you know that bar
But the thing about this, right?
$100,000.
What were you paying for grams? What were you to pay for the bar? And I said to myself, this don't make no sense.
No, get the bar one time.
But you know, since she wanted
get your gold. Get your gold. Listen, guys. Speaking of gold, let me know if this is gold or just a little brass tinkling, whatever. Of course, we know, and we are very, very grateful. We've been spared from tropical storm / Hurricane Nicole. It was a tropical storm over Abaco and a hurricane over Grand Bahama. And then, of course, the Northwest Bahamas experienced tropical storm conditions. But we're very, very grateful that only flooding that we saw, some storm surge, etc. Now, what came out of that, though? I wish I had the photograph. Randy, I wish I had sent you that. If you all have it, pull it up. But I tell you, the former Prime Minister, people feel as though, you know, this man came out looking like the superstar, like he was barefoot. I don't get how he was barefoot walking in water and not knowing what was going on. And here's what it is. I'll just set it up and then these two will jump in. So there was a major storm surge. Listen, whatever that was that happened on the western coast, that's his constituency. And so it came over and it went across the road into businesses, etc. Some people lost thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. It really was quite scary to actually watch if you've seen the video. But after that, I guess people said he was going door to door, or certainly in several areas, speaking to people, etc. But he was snapped walking barefoot in the settled water, in the water that had flooded the area. Smart, posturing, optics, or just a man who cares?
When it rained the other day, I was outside my yard walking barefoot. Ain't nobody say I was, you know, and I was checking on my neighbors too. I was barefoot.
Listen to me.
And
you had somebody take your picture? You ain't had nobody take no picture of you and put that somewhere.
It didn't exist.
Just leave it.
Politicians is something else. Though.
You know,
politicians do anything for a pitch photo op to make themselves look good.
If they smart,
say it again.
It's politics. If it's smart, it's good PR, it's good optics.
But I think the people need to be smarter though and see through the shams.
Yeah, but I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not a defender. I'm not a fan. But if you look at the history of all F&M leaders, they have been good in their constituency. We have Papa, good in Abaco. We have the former Prime Minister Minnis, good in his constituency. We have the current leader, good in his constituency. And so even though it might be for PR, the fact of the matter he is known to be involved in his constituency. He's known to be involved in his constituency. That is not to be debated.
Cassius should know this because he still has aspirations for politics, I believe. It doesn't matter. Listen, if it's optics or not, when you sometimes go through something and your person that you elected or the person elected for the area shows up, and however they show up, it absolutely makes a difference. It really, it's just something about them showing up that says, regardless of if it's some game for him and people following and streaming live, it's good.
I have the script. You got to kiss the ugly babies and feed the
I
got the script.
If you're going to go walk out against your neighborhood, call me so I can take some picture.
You ain't never run before. I got the script, right?
Listen, I follow the script.
How you gonna call babies ugly? See, you do already misread that.
This is the script they give us. I didn't write the script. I only tell you what they say. You got to kiss the babies.
Next time you go out in the rain, barefoot, I'm going to come and take your picture. Make sure you call me. I think you got my number.
But I need you on. I need to be on your blog though.
Yes.
Let's go today.
So listen, guys. And I don't. The Prime Minister, of course, is in Egypt. And really, it really kind of works hand in hand because he's discussing climate change, and he sent a video message from Egypt the COP27 conference. But many people on social media felt as though, man, where are you? Now, of course, he sent that message. He says, listen, this is what he's fighting for on behalf of the people and the country of the Bahamas, to be able to secure, to be able to raise money, to be able to access that money, to help some things around the country and sort of, I guess, shore up the vulnerable position the Bahamas is in. But was that also good optics for him to send video from there at a time when many areas were flooding, people were afraid? People are still very traumatized from Dorian, and so people were afraid because of the flooding was just a concern, really. Was that
Let me tell you
good?
what happened. If he did not send it, then there's a civilian checking for us. If he sent it, they say, why he gone? And so you can't win in this situation. But he had to do it as the prime minister. He had a prearranged trip. He went to that trip. And he had to be able to say to the nation, listen, I'm not in the Bahamas, however, I'm giving my best wishes for hunker down, whatever he said. I didn't really hear what he said, but he had to do it. For those who were saying whatever they said, I'm just being mischievous, to be honest with you. Like Peggy and them, it's being mischievous. The prime minister had to do that. If he did not do it, then he would have been condemned for not doing it. So he had to do it.
Yes, he had to. He had to send a message.
I steal your thunder.
I trying to be.
You can't beat him up. He had to say something.
No, he had to, and he tried his best. But the problem is,
he shouldn't go for
no, the people's hearts are turning.
What do you mean? Now, Peggy, you gone total left with this
comment. I know, and I was really trying. I don't want to be this person, but I gotta tell the truth before God.
Hallelujah.
And the bishop is here. But the problem is, let it have been 8 months ago, people would have. They stopped cheering now. They now have these expectations, and they're now feeling these disappointment, and they're saying whenever there is a urgency in this country, you are not here with us. For example, Minutes walking through the water, he was there on the ground, looking like one of them.
The acting prime minister?
Yeah. Yes, and so when he sent a message, they say, you dancing in Egypt, you having a good time in Egypt. So even if the storm blow us away, you in Egypt. They wanted their leader.
You a place for us in Egypt in case something happens.
They wanted, and I think this is what now is working against him. The people, their expectation is before them, and they want him to meet these expectations. They want him to be on the ground with them.
I think they're having brave fatigue, though. I think they're having
what?
brave fatigue. It's because, let me explain something to you. You feel the euphoria you have when you travel to a foreign place on vacation, you go to the hotel, and you have no stress, and you just feel like, okay, yeah, I can live. This is what prime ministers feel when they go to a foreign country. They don't have to deal with all of the local problems. They get treated like royalty, like kings.
Yes.
And so I'm telling you what happens. And so I don't have to deal with any of the problems. So I'm away from the problems in the Bahamas, but I'm in this country where I'm being treated good. So it gives you a euphoric feeling that I won't do that again. It's like going to vacation and you live in a 5-star hotel where the pillow is nice and the bed is soft. You don't want to go. You ain't got no more problems.
Yes, you're trying to say the prime minister prefers softer beds away from the Bahamas, away from the Bahamas versus having those softer beds right in the Bahamas.
Come back home and deal with crime. Come back home and deal with inflation. Come back home and deal with the unions. Come back home and deal with me and you always on the TV talking about this and that.
Who me and you? Don't connect me.
You think he want to come back and deal with that? He ain't going to deal with that.
Yeah, connect me to you.
He right now by the pyramids of Giza. Him and Stafu and Ramses and all that. He chilling with Ramses and them. And so he ain't got no time to worry about me and you right now. The pharaohs. Those are the pharaohs.
But it is
and then bathing in the Nile.
And it's optics. It is. People are just saying you're traveling. And the thing about it is, they can say, oh, you're complaining. But the complaints of the people turn into a nasty roar. And so you have to be able, we talk about management. Once upon a time, 8-9 months ago, when he traveled, people was like, oh, go, Mr. Prime Minister. But now they say, you're going again. So it's PR people and posting these beautiful pictures and videos have to realize that there is such a thing as a brave fatigue. People want, while people are complaining and suffering and prices are up and all the inflation, gas, food, the hospital linking and all those things, they see you leaving them again. This is a real thing. This is not a criticism. This is a real thing that needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
And it's people who are running this PR, who creating these public optics, need to understand and read. Don't come on the blogs, Facebook fighting, because I see them fighting. Read and take note. Whenever I was managing a campaign, I would go and I would read. Because whatever the people are complaining about is the problem to solve.
So what to tell them is, Brave, you got a newborn baby who's still sucking on the breast. You can't leave us, Brave. We still need the nipple, okay? You're leaving us. And so you go again, you go on again, you go on, you're always going. Stay home, fix the crime, fix the education, grow some beets, make sure that we grow some cabbage and lettuce and tomatoes.
Yeah.
The real cryptocurrency, Mr. Brave Davis, is making sure we build our agriculture sector so we can feed ourselves. Strengthen our educational system so that we will have a workforce that are bar none in the Caribbean. Then when we build this workforce, these entrepreneurs, then let's take over the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Regional domination.
I tell you, I wanted to ask you all about the Facebook layoffs and what does it mean?
11,000 employees.
People, I know, right? Recession,
Wow,
etc.
that is
But you all
crazy.
just go on so much. I tell you, I always
That's
lose
Peggy.
control.
Can't get her to stop talking,
I
man.
always lose control.
Can't
in
get her to
segment
stop
when they are
talking.
here. I just don't get it. Listen, but I'll tell you what's coming up though. This is really important. I want you all to really stay tuned on this one. Feeding 1,000 people. You heard these Cassius and Peggy talk about inflation and the price of food and gas and just so much is really happening. There are families out there, and Grand Bahamians told us this one, out there deciding who's going to eat tonight. And oftentimes parents are saying they will go without so that their children can have something hot. It's happening all over the country, and so there is an organization that is, again, attempting to feed 1,000 people a nice hot plate of food this Thanksgiving. We'll tell you about it after this break.
Once upon a time, not too far away.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, powered by Alive. We, of course, are about 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and many people look forward to it. Bahamians have become accustomed to it, as though it's our holiday that we officially celebrate. But it's always a good reason to give thanks, and of course, many people do so through a hot meal and family and friends and the rest of it. But there are many people also this year and for the last few years who Thanksgiving or any other day have a hard time putting a hot plate of food on the table for their families. And that is where Keeper's Prayer Watch comes in. And Delton Ellis. Of course, Delton Ellis is a pastor, a local leader. He also heads an organization, GUF, here in the Bahamas, of course, that is tied to the Mount Tabor Church. But what he has done is stepped out for the last handful of years, really, and helped out in back-to-school efforts, in feeding programs, and getting good, clean water to hundreds of people, and feeding the elderly, a whole lot of other projects and programs that he's done in the last handful of years. And this year, this Thanksgiving, he wants to feed 1,000 people. That is pretty amazing. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you here. And you know what? I compliment you and congratulate you for this major feeding effort that you are attempting to do and will do come Thanksgiving.
Yes, Shanique, again, thanks for having me tonight. I'm telling you, it's amazing to see the amount of people that call, text, WhatsApp, send you messenger, asking for a little something. I mean, I had a little soft spot because two mothers said to me, if you can't give us anything, at least give our children something. So that's the kind of thing you're going to on a regular basis. During the pandemic, we really stepped up. And since the pandemic, I'm telling you, we have done more than 9,000 bags of groceries.
Wow.
We have done pretty much about 3,500 food vouchers. We have given away this year alone just under, we come in close, just under 50,000 bottles of pure drinking water. We've also done more than 1,000 backpacks in different areas back to school. And last year, December, believe it or not, we were able to touch 7 other charities, one in Baltimore, one in Miami, one in Bimini, and 4 here in Nassau, where we were able to do almost 2,000 plus toys for children during the Christmas holidays.
Which is amazing, and I know that's something obviously that you are passionate about, is something that is near and dear to your heart, and it's good to see that you're doing that. So let's talk about what you have on tap and what is the goal and the intention for Thanksgiving.
All right, for Thanksgiving, well, all this year, Pastor Franz George and the Heritage Missionary Baptist Church have partnered with Keeper's Prayer Watch 5.0. So every month we have been going out and hitting one of the parks. We have been on Hay Street, we've been Lincoln Boulevard, Claridge Road, we've been Montiel Heights more than once, and so we've been to Saxon's Park already. We want to go back to Saxon's Park this holiday, this Thanksgiving, and we want to be a blessing by giving out 1,000 hot meals. Now, it's just not the hot meals only. We have tons of clothes, Shanique, that we're getting ready to give up. Oh man, we are ready to clothe more than 500 people. We also looking at toys for about 200 kids. We want to do a little more than 300 cases of water. And then there's some other little small baby items that we have. So we want to make it really a major festival, not just the hot food only, but the kids could come. People who don't have clothes could come. Somebody who needs something to drink could come. We just want to be a blessing because I believe it's been mandated on us to do what we can to assist whoever we can when we have the opportunity.
And you've been doing that, and it's so wonderful. A number of organizations have just jumped on board with you.
Yes.
The Italia Bahamas Foundation,
Yes.
who assisted you last year, they
Yes.
heard about this
Yes.
event this year,
Yes.
and they have pledged, because I reached out to them, and they kind of reached out to me as well, and I'm like,
Yes.
well, yeah,
Yes.
he's this is what he's doing this year.
Yes.
And they have pledged $3,000 towards the effort
Excellent.
of feeding
Thank
people,
you so
of
much.
providing whatever it is
Yes.
that feeders, Keeper's Prayer Watch is doing.
Yes.
Certainly to assist with that. And
Yes.
what can you say to anybody who is watching, individual, organization, church,
Yes.
whatever it is, in terms of wanting to jump on board and assist.
Yes, again, let's go back to the Bahamas Italia Foundation. As you indicated last year, they helped us with so much toys to be a blessing to people right here in the Bahamas. And we are grateful for that and grateful for what they're getting ready to do. But if you want to partner with us with Keepers, we're doing it with some of the global churches. If you want to give a case of water, that's plenty. If you want to give a case of water, you want to buy one meal, you want to give us groceries, you want to give us a check, whatever it is that you were able to do, believe it or not, nothing is too small that we won't accept it. Listen, if you want to write a check for $10,000, call me now. If you want to do that, if you got a check for $100, I'll come and pick it up. If you just want to give a case of water for $10, we'll be more than happy. You'll be surprised to know how much a plate of food, how much a bottle of water mean to so many persons who don't have it.
It makes a difference.
Yes,
and
it
at
does.
a time of Thanksgiving
Yes,
and in the holiday
yes,
season, imagine
yes.
just being able to sit because, and I had no idea it was going to be something as big as you plan to roll out,
Yes,
clothing and
yes.
food, hot food, and of
Yes.
course grocery items and toys. So a wonderful day that you have planned for the
Yes.
people of that area in the Saxons Edition area.
Yes.
Really, really just amazing. And I like to see it happen. I was excited about it last year. I'm excited about it this
Wonderful.
year. How
Thank
can
you
people
so much.
contact you? How can people reach out to you to be able to make whatever donation it is?
Yes. DeltonEllis@gmail.com is easy. 457-0849 is my cell number by WhatsApp. And if you fail that, it's just Delton Ellis on Facebook, Delton Ellis on Instagram, Delton Ellis on Twitter. As long as you remember Delton Ellis, I assure you, you'll be able to find me. So if you can reach me on that at Gmail, at Yahoo, or 457-0849 is my cell.
Okay, let's just make a difference, guys. Let's help out. I know everybody can say, you know what, hey, I need help, but I'll tell you, it really feels good to give and to be of
Yes.
assistance and to put a smile on children's faces, on
Yes.
families' faces, and it comes back to you.
Yes,
it
it
comes back
certainly
in
does.
so many ways.
It
And-
certainly
and this
does.
is the season of Thanksgiving.
Yes, it
How about
is.
let's just sort of making other people happy and thankful that their neighbors care,
Yes.
that everybody cares, you know? And so it's a good effort. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you
And
so much. I
I'm really
appreciate
excited
the
to see
time.
excited to see it come off.
Yes.
And so again, you reach out to him via telephone or any of the social media handles, email, whatever it is, and let's help make this happen on Thanksgiving. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Don't go anywhere. More inspiration is in store for you. Your Minute of Inspiration with Mount Tabor Church is straight ahead.
Story of a prolific Bahamian who stands as an example of the Bahamian dream coming alive.
Neil is the only fella I see cry to go to church.
He showed me love. He showed me respect.
How the seemingly ordinary boy from a small island nation could rise from his disadvantaged childhood to become a renowned leader.
I've used Bishop Ellis as an inspirator.
Bishop Ellis was like an anchor.
He was able to rise above the political divisions.
In Neil Ellis, I see Christ.
Thank you, Bishop Neil C. Ellis, for being you.
Under the distinguished patronage of Mrs. Anne Marie Davis, spouse of the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mount Tabor Church presents a red carpet premiere, a documentary journey of the life of Bishop Neil C. Ellis at Fusion Superplex, Thursday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $20, $50, and VIP IMAX Theater $100. Tickets available at Mount Tabor Church. See you there.
Well, that does it for our show this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great night, everyone.
The Verizon Media Group, home of ILTV, Paramount Systems Limited, Eyewitness News, and Beyond.